Hello. Okay, so we're going to do the business letters for business communications. I'm gonna go through this PowerPoint. This video is mainly for those of you guys who have a Chromebook or those of you who cannot download PowerPoint. Okay. I don't know. Maybe you can. I don't know if there's a way. Anyways, this is just to clear out any confusion. Okay, just extra precautions, right? So I'm going to play these slides and I'm going to explain everything. This could be very useful for those of you even who have PowerPoint to kind of understand what this is talking about when we talk about formatting business letters. Okay, so we're going to first talk about overview of the letter parts. Okay, there's the letterhead, dateline, letter address, salutation, body, complimentary closing, the name and title, and the reference initials. We're going to talk about why it's supposed to be in there, where it's supposed to be. All of these sections, just by the way, are pretty required for general business letters. Even in emails, you want to have most of these sections whenever you're addressing somebody via email. Let's actually move this screen down. Oh, I can't move my screen down too much. There we go. That might help a little bit. Anyways, so this is an example. You probably can't see it that well, but it's an example of what a business letter should look like. You'll have your letterhead. Well, let's just keep clicking through the slides because it's going to show you. So your letterhead is your global media section right here. It's in the header section in a Word document. If I were to open up a Word document, let me do that really quick. Bring it over. Okay, it would be this if I double click this little header section right here. Okay, bring that. You can put in a logo. It can be as complicated or as uncomplicated. Notice they sometimes have a address below. Okay, let's move on to the date line. All right, now it's going to be the number one thing that you see. Okay, the first thing that you see. Now, here's one thing that you probably should understand about the business letters is that often when you write a business letter, you want to mail it as a hard copy. Now, this isn't email. This is like a hard copy. I'm sending you this letter. Okay, these are never going to go away. Okay, as much as email is a wonderful, amazing way of communication, hardcore letters are just, there's a reason why we still have them even in this awesome digital time. Okay, they're good for record keeping. They won't die on you if the internet dies. Okay, and well, there's just, I could keep going on. The list is endless. Okay, they do move most things digitally now, but the hard copies are a lot more secure, less ability to hack them, more safe. Anyways, so the reason why I bring that up is because when you fold up one of these papers, the first thing that you see is the date and the address, your address, and that way they could fold it up, put it in one of those envelopes with a little see-through part, and send it to you. Really easy that way. Okay, that's one of the reasons why we do this, the letter address in the block way that we have it. Okay. So you have your letter address, it's in a block form, you've got who it's to, just as if you were mailing a letter. Hopefully when you were in elementary school you learned how to mail a letter and how that works out, but if you didn't, you're going to have your the sender's name, to whoever you're sending it to, and you're going to have their address. I can't read it even from my screen, it's hard to read, but you're going to have their address, zip code, country, all that kind of stuff. Okay, and it's, oh, by the way, back to letter address, it's going to be single space. This is a quadruple space, single space, double space. You'll see it in abbreviations sometimes as DS or QS. Okay, and then you're going to address whoever you're reading to, dear whoever. Now, a salutation, interestingly enough, we'll talk more about that hopefully, but a salutation could be dear, it could be to whom this may concern. It could be salutations. There's a few of them that I've seen that are pretty crazy. Hi or hello, so-and-so. Okay, but in a business formal letter, dear so-and-so is appropriate. Okay. Body, then you have everything you want to say. Amazingly, this is like half the page right here. You're like, man, why couldn't I do my essays in this format? But you're going to have your message and it'll go down. It can take as many pages as it needs to. Complimentary closing, all right? Sincerely yours. And we need to make sure that all of these elements are here, by the way, when you're doing your letters. Okay, we're going to practice these. You're going to do a quadruple space, writer's name and title. That's your name and then your initials right there. Now, often this space right here, sincerely yours or all the best, yours truly. I don't know if yours truly actually is terribly on the list of terribly great business exits or closings. Anyways, sincerely yours is pretty standard good business closing. All right. You want to leave a quadruple space so that you have space. Even if you don't end up signing it, there is a space for you to sign it. Okay. All right. So those are all the attributes. Date and letter address. So let's talk about the date and letter address, even though we already talked about it. Oh, you can see it now. That's perfect. Okay. Let's see. I don't have presenter view, so I can't tell when I'm about to close. Go back previous. Actually, I'll just use my arrow keys. Sorry. Okay, so you'll see QS and DS right here. That stands for quadruple space or double space. All right, so you have the date line. This is date letter is the date that the letter is mailed. You don't say the date that you write it. The date is when it is mailed. Okay, that's important. Okay, then you do a quadruple space below that. So hit enter 4 times. Right here, these little paragraphs 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see that. You hit the enter key 1, 2, 3, and then 4 one more time, however you want to space it. Don't get confused with the quadruple space. Just know that there are 3 blank spaces in between the 2 lines. How about that? Because you'll hit the enter key 4 times. Okay. The letter address, person who receives the letter, so whoever you're giving it to, just like I said, you're folding it up and giving it to the receiver. Miss Pamela Foxmeyer. It's an interesting name. Personal director, you can give their title, letter beams to their company, and that would be the company, so who it's personally for, and then their title and the company that maybe it's going to. If it's to a personal home, you wouldn't have to do all of that, but if it's to a letter, like for instance, if you were sending it to Mr. Edwards, you'd say, to Mr. Edwards or Mr. Richard Edwards, business teacher at Canyon View High School, and then you would put Canyon View High School's address. Okay, if you were going to send it to Canyon View, if you were sending it a personal letter, you would just say to Mr. Richard Edwards and then my home address. Okay. Include personal title. Include 1 space before the zip code. All right. So, oh yeah, with the letter. Like once again, to me, this is just common sense. But for those of you who maybe not have written any letters, that's not a thing that high school students do too often, I guess. Letter beams incorporated, then you'd put the address, so you put the address of the road, okay, and then you hit enter again, and then you do the city, state, and then zip code. Okay, so city, state, and zip code is always going to be on a different line than the address of where you're at specifically in the city. Okay. All right. Personal title, 1 space before the zip code. Okay. Salutation. This is the hello, dear Mrs. Foxmeyer. Now that's the greeting. The open punctuation requires no mark. So there's a difference between open punctuation and mixed punctuation. Sorry, I can't pronunciate punctuation. Blech. That's a tongue tire. Okay, so open punctuation, you don't have the comma. Mixed punctuation requires a colon after the salutation. Okay. So this would be an example of mixed, and this would be an example of open. Okay, and open doesn't necessarily mean that you are always going to send it to general broad audience, but that is what it could be. Okay, closing lines. All right, then you'd have your middle part. If you remember that, then closing lines, sincerely yours, you have double space, quadruple space, double space. All right, let's see what else they have to say. Sorry, I'm trying to be quick right now because these videos only allow me to go for about 15 minutes, and I'm already at like 10. So complimentary closing is the farewell. Then you double space after the body, mixed punctuation. All right, go through this. Whoops, I'll go back. All right, so that's the closing. This is the closing slide. Let me move this out of the way so you can see it. It's the whole slide. There you go. All right, letter punctuation. Okay. So there's open punctuation, mixed punctuation. Here's the difference between the two. Open punctuation is no punctuation after the salutation. No punctuation after the complimentary close. It's just completely open. Right? And mixed is there's a colon and then a comma after the complimentary close. Major difference between open and mixed. Okay? Block letter style. All lines begin at the left margin. Okay, default side margins. This is block letter. Okay, so there's blocks, blocked, and mixed. Maybe I should do 2 different videos. No, we can do it. We can totally do it. Okay, so blocked letter style. All lines begin at the left margin. Default side margin. So you just leave it in Word document. Word document is meant for business letters. That's why it's awesome. Okay, vertical position, center the page vertically or position the date line to 2.3 or 3 inches from the top of the page. Okay, and when they're talking about the date line, so here's a Word document, the date line, top of the page. You can look at the rulers right here. Well, you'll see examples of that though, for sure. Okay, center the page vertically or, okay, we already looked at that. Okay, let's move on. That's basically the block letter style. Just follow those rules. So here's the example right here. So you got Cindy's, this is the header, this is the date line, quadruple space, this is the person you're sending it to, double space, and then all the wonderful information that you have to send. Whoa. Okay. And yeah, this is how it would basically look on a Word document. It's all nice and neat. All to the left. Pretty simple. Okay. As a matter of fact, something that you could do is ask your parents for maybe like one of the bills that they get sent online, or maybe like a document that they get sent. Often you'll notice, hey, this is the format that they use, the style. Okay, so the modified block style, now this is a little bit different. It's about the same, except, okay, so the date begins at 3 inches on the horizontal ruler. So that's the horizontal ruler. That means it's almost center. So this is the center point right here at like 3.2 or something. This point right here, you could just click on it and just click on it and then hit tab, and then this is your date. Okay, it's not centered. Do not center it. If you centered it, watch this. If I deleted this, actually let me hit Control Z a couple times, and I just said date and then Control E. Okay, notice, see the difference? See that little line? Okay, it's a little bit off. I'm not the one who created block style, but that's how you're supposed to do it. Okay, so anyways, you're going to have a typed signature rather than necessarily writing it all out. Complimentary close begins at the 3. So the opening begins at 3 and then the complimentary begins at 3 inches. Okay, so it's going to look like this. Okay, and that's it. Oh, perfect. We got through it. This is the end. This is the very last page. Okay, and we're almost at 15 minutes. So this is your slideshow. Email me if you have any questions. Hopefully this helps get through some of the difference between modified, block style, mixed punctuation, and open punctuation, and how to just write a general business letter.